We're going to be doing some nice work on mobilizing our spine this morning, but working a little bit on back extension as opposed to flexion today. So that might mean something to you or nothing to you as we go through the class. So let's see how we get on. We're going to start with our legs in feet in parallel. So making sure that you haven't got them turned out too far at the moment. Let's just imagine, of course, you've got that direct line underneath from your ankle to the knee and then the knee to the hips. Okay, and then this lovely hip girdle is just underneath the shoulders with a head plopped on top like a cherry on the cake there. Hands down by your sides and reaching a finger down towards the floor, the middle finger reaching down the side seam of the trousers. Okay, so go ahead and find that just gentle breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, the natural cycle for us here in Pilates. And we're just going to try and discard everything that we've had to do already this busy morning and try and focus on yourself for the next hour of Pilates. Okay, so gentle breath in. And as you start to notice that breath coming in through the nostrils, think about where you're sending that breath into the lovely lung space here, expanding between the ribs. And then think also as well, with that breath coming in, you're trying to allow yourself to just lift ever so slightly up through the crown of the head, not necessarily by lifting the chin. And feel that lengthening of the spine right here from the big L5 that sits at the base of the spine there, up to the top of the head. Okay. I'd like you, if you can, just to go ahead and place your hands now just below the rib cage area. So your fingertips actually meet, okay? So just peep out the corner of your eye at me for a moment. Fingertips are here and thumbs are just resting on the base of the ribs. As you breathe into this next couple of breaths, now you've just organized that breath and position, just allow yourself to notice as you breathe in, the fingertips should slightly start to separate to the left and right. Go ahead and close your eyes if you wish, or you were closing them before, and just go ahead with that breathing again. Sending these breaths or the air into the side of your body. This is lateral thoracic breathing. And notice perhaps those those ribs just slightly shifting up and away from each other as the diaphragm compresses up and in and you push the air out of the lungs. Okay, so noticing what's going on there. Again, if this means nothing to you, then just continue with that lovely lateral thoracic breathing, reminding yourself that you're trying to breathe into this upper rib cage area, not into the belly space. As you exhale again with the hands where they are, you might start to feel that engagement of these core muscles. So as the air leaves the body, you start to feel the tension there in the core muscles around not only the rectus abdominis, this lovely six-pack we have that we all know and love or hate, but also these transverse abdominis muscles down the side of the body, your oblique slings that crisscross the body. They're all drawing in underneath those palms of your hands as you exhale. And then finally, for the last two breaths, go ahead, please, and find the pelvic floor area. So the front and back passages for me. Drawing those guys up as you exhale, thinking of the front and back passage, kind of equal weight and importance to them both. For our last breath, before opening your eyes and bring yourselves back into the room. Okay, popping the hands now behind the back of the head, just gently placing them, not necessarily clasping them, but just supporting the back of the skull, not the neck. And thumbs around the base of the skull, perhaps just tucked behind the ears there. I'd like you to bring your heels now together into a Pilates V, or turn out. So you've actually left the toes where they are, and the heels just come in and zip right through from the heels, through the knees and up, perhaps under the buttocks there, squeezing a little for me too. Now, we just talked about this rib cage area. I want you now to just take a very small roll down. This is a mini small roll down where really your chin's going to come into your throat space and you're going to imagine the back of the ribs just having a little bit of a stretch and an opening. This is nothing to do with the mid-spine or lumbar spine, okay? Dropping your gaze to the floor, you then just look up to the horizon again and breathe in. Exhale, chin goes into the throat space only. So you're imagining perhaps the shoulder blades just slightly easing forwards. Maybe you feel a bit of a stretch in the lower spine, but there should be no articulation or movement or bend forwards in that lower spine at all. So bring that belly button in as the chin comes into your chest. Imagine that belly button almost coming in and sliding up and under those ribs at the base of the front of the rib cage there. We've got one more breath in. Just gently opening up the ribs to the back of you, belly pulling in up and under, and then bring yourself back to center. Okay, pausing here, and I want you to just press your head a little bit more into those hands. Okay, as soon as you get that gentle press, perhaps you feel the back of your shoulders starting to fire up a little as well. Okay, from here, just keep that gentle press, breathe in, and take that right elbow down towards the side of you. So you get into your lateral flexion. Well done. And then bring yourself back to center. Still a gentle press with the head into the hands. Breathe in, exhale to the left, and a gentle lateral flexion. Hips kind of staying where they are to begin with. And now we're going to add on a slightly deeper dive into this movement. So breathe in, over towards the right, pausing here. Shifting now the hips and the pelvis towards the left. Just deepen that reach, perhaps pulling slightly further down with that right elbow, checking that left elbow is still up towards the sky, looking out to the horizon, and breathe in. As you breathe in, you expand through that left side of the body, and then exhale, tummy in, and draw yourself back to center where you regroup. Breathe in, gentle press onto the hands with the skull and over towards your left. Ease your hips to the right, maybe lowering that left elbow a bit more. Still squeezing between those inner thighs, still feeling the press on the back of those, on the hands with the back of the head. And then bring yourself back to center and release the hands down by your sides. Okay, so we should have warmed up a little bit in the upper body. Take those legs slightly wider now. You're probably looking at about your mat width, okay? So just visualize that distance and pop your hands across your heart space and draw the shoulder blades back and down, like little arrows, pulling the shoulder blades down so we've got clearance between the shoulders and the ears. Now we're going to go into a squat, but I'd like you to go into a flat back squat, okay? So we're trying to think about that, the join between, or the distance between the top of the crown of the head and the tailbone staying flat. So if you go into a squat, I don't mind if you don't go very far. If you have to go, or you find that to go deeply, you're bending and you're curving into the lower spine, don't go as deeply, okay? So it goes deep, breathing in, exhale, belly pulls in, and really that's belly pulling in is the one that helps you stay fairly flat back, okay? And then come back up into your start position with a breath in, exhale, mobilize through the hips and knees, and then draw yourself back up. Breathe in, exhale. While you're here, just thinking and noticing what's going on with the knees and hips. Do you feel there's any sort of wiggle or S-bend or shape that you're building or creating as you head down into your squat? Are you aware of feeling that perhaps one knee comes off lock first? Notice what's going on with your body. Anything that's maybe different to the left and right could be different misalignments that you might then find work their way up through into the rest of the body. So try and always notice what's going on in the symmetry, left and right, front and back, etc. Okay. Pausing this time, we are up. We are going to choose now to modify. If you want, you can take your hands up towards your temples. Again, now extending that imaginary line from the temple all the way to the fingertips. So as you flat back, it's from your big L5 there, that vertebrae to the fingertips, and then back up. Well done, down. Now, of course, you don't need to add these arms if you don't want to. Equally, we're going to add in a knee raise. Choosing, if you wish, as you come back up to lift a knee, and then back down into your squat and lift your other knee. Okay, so it's nice, simple work. Just again, mobilizing perhaps a little bit hip flexors. That's it, nice. Thinking of that line as you come down. Good. Well done. Last two. And final one. Coming to pausing, standing, hands down by your sides. Okay, so if you're not facing down the length of your mat, go ahead and just bring yourself to the front of the mat, feet are in parallel. Okay, we are going to start everyone now with our arms raised and elevated. Okay, so these guys are going to try and stay up if we can. We're going to think about now our pressing into the left foot and lift the right heel. So you've elevated onto the right ball of the foot, finding your balance, maybe firing up into the core and the pelvic floors because we're going into a knee raise. Into a knee raise if you can. If you immediately know that this is going to make you really wobbly, you're not good on balance, or lunges are just not your thing, you are more than welcome to be in toe touch. From here, we are going to now send the leg back towards the back of the mat onto the balls of the foot, so you're still heel raised. And just now look at that line, okay? We're trying to think of the line. So you possibly will need to bring your upper body forwards. This is your position for your body, okay? So we're not going to be up towards the sky. You're imagining yourself in a beautiful flat back between the fingers to the heel now. Send your arms behind me behind you, please, for me. So those arms are behind, and reach those fingers to the back of the mat and roll the shoulders back. Open out the chest. So a little bit forwards for me, Gemma, a little bit further forwards with your body weight forward. So it's a lean and a hinge forwards. Gorgeous, well done. Then you come back up into standing, draw your knee up into knee raise, and we're going to do that a little bit more quickly. So breathing in. As you head back, find that lovely line, send the foot back behind you, reach the hands back and open the chest. Well done. Driving forwards into knee raise, you're going to do 4 more. Send the leg behind you and reach with the fingertips, open out that chest. Wonderful. 2 more, lift. So this is probably going to cause a few collywobbles, and that's fine. Just keep talking to your legs and can try and control through the core and your pelvic floors. Last time. Well done. And back into standing. Well done. Switching sides, let the arms rest for a moment. So you're going to go ahead onto the other side. So I'm going to turn around and step the other way. You stay where you are. You're going to take your hands towards the ceiling one more time, lifting your left heel so the balls of onto the ball of the foot, and just fire up that tummy, fire up the pelvic floors. This is your control center. Taking your knee into a knee raise if you can, or just toe touch if you prefer. Sending the leg behind you. Go ahead and pause for a moment on this side and feel again that stretch through from the heel all through the leg, the front of the hip flexor and your arms. So again, a little bit more forwards if you can. Okay, so we're not upwards towards the sky. We are reaching forward. Send the arms behind you and just layer up this lengthening of the arms, shoulder blades back and down, opening of the chest, even the neck. The neck should be feeling nice and long now as well. As we sweep back up into standing, find your control, maybe spot on the horizon will help as you lift into knee raise. And then we're going to go back for 4 times, sending it back and reach arms behind you, working those triceps and lift with control or just to toe touch. As I said before, you don't need to add in that knee raise if you just haven't quite got that balance. It's a little early in the morning, then just back into your toe touched. Start position is fine. Last one. Reaching, shoulder blades back and down. Don't forget, open out that chest, reach through those arms, everything from the shoulder joint, and final one with a foot coming to rest on the mat. Gorgeous, well done. Into 4-point kneeling, so just adjusting yourself down onto the mat now, hands under your shoulders, knees under our hips. Okay, and we're going to start off with a lovely, simple flat cat stretch. So just allowing yourself now to imagine that mid-spine lifting, like you've got a sling under your belly there. You're lifting that mid-spine towards the ceiling. Look down towards your tummy button, perhaps your pubic bone. Your chin comes into your throat space, and you've got a lovely arch. We've created that gorgeous bridge shape. Breathing in, and then exhale now as you lift your gaze to the front of the mat. Let your bottom then stick out. Really think that bottom sticking out behind you and looking up to the front. So you're going to stretch the throat space down towards the front of the belly. Up into cat stretch. And then we're going to just pause here, resting up. Just press into the heels of the hands, press into the shins. And then exhale now. We're going to take a lovely stretch down into cow. Belly sinking down, tailbone sticking out. And then we're going to find our neutral. So try and find your halfway between the two. Okay, so we're going to go into our swimming position now. We're going to take the right hand and turn the little finger now. So the palm of the hand in the middle of the mat, and the little finger is on the mat. We're going to slice forward with that hand, but not to the point where you've lowered your shoulders. So imagine you've got a little tea tray across the back of your shoulders there. It's perfectly balanced and poised. You can't let it tip to the right or left. And then left leg now reaches out behind you. Toenails are down on the floor. Just pause the toenails on the floor and check, because what sometimes happens is we rotate that hip to the left and lift the left hip up. Your left hip needs to be facing down towards the mat and parallel. Again, imaginary tea tray across your bottom there. We're going to now lift that arm and leg up to hip height and lower back down. So nice and easy to begin with while we find our balance. Now, if you're finding that a struggle, you're more than welcome to just choose one or the other. Perhaps you'd rather leave the fingertip down and work on your glutes and bottom this morning. Perhaps you'd rather leave the toenails down and just work on the arm. I don't mind which. Okay. Or don't lift as high, perhaps, as the shoulder. Exhaling as you lift, still pressing that left hip down towards the floor for me. And we're going to pause this next time you're elevated. Okay, so pause with the arm and leg raised. Good. Look down for the mat for me, Julia. So you've got a lovely long neck as well. So you've got the neck still part of that spine there. Okay, so from here, we're now going to draw your right elbow in underneath you and your left knee in underneath you, as if they're trying to imagine that belly button space, and just pull the two together while still looking down to the mat. So try not to bring that chin into your throat space at the moment. The neck stays long. Back out into your extension of arm and leg. Breathing in, exhale, elbow coming in just to kiss that knee underneath you. Keep the neck a little bit long, okay? It will respond and come with you, but try not to create too much of a curl with the throat, chin into the throat space. Lovely. Reach nice and long. Get all the length out of the body. Okay, that's it, Gemma, nice. And exhale as you bring the elbow and knee underneath. Big exhale, maybe a little bit more pull of that belly in, maybe a little bit more tuck of the tailbone under, Gemma, perhaps just to get that lower lumbar spine a bit lengthened. Yeah, nice. Okay, last two. And then we're going to place our hand and our knee back down on the mat. And we're just going to go straight onto the other side, okay? Because we're going to shift onto the other hand and leg. We should be able to give them a rest. So it's our left hand now that's just on the little finger, palm facing in. Again, imaginary T-tray across the shoulder blades. Extend that left hand forwards. Okay, once you've got that nice and tidy and settled, take your right leg out, toenails down. Again, just have a think about where you are, looking down towards the mat. You've got that tummy button pulling in, lifting your arm and leg to shoulder height, checking that balance, that right hip still pressing down towards the mat for me. As you exhale, pull that belly in, and we eliminate any of that sagging lower back. Okay, keep it nice and supported underneath there. And we're going to just do two more lifts and lowers. Exhaling as you lift, reaching all the way through the limbs. Okay, feel the stretch from the hip and the shoulder joint. And then this time pausing at the raised position. We're going to now draw our knee in and our elbow in to meet underneath that belly button. A gentle response of the head, but don't be looking down, please, towards your tummy button at this point. We breathe in and extend at shoulder height. Exhale and pull the knee and elbow in. Again, modification might be that your fingers and your toes are down. You might just want to pull the two in together and slide along the mat. Or as mentioned in the last series we did, you can just do your arm. Okay, if you want to work on your arm today, pull the arm and elbow underneath you. Or if you just want to work on your knee, okay, you're more than welcome just to draw that knee in and underneath you. And you kind of just, you're working on half, which is fine. Last two. And last one. And then bring your hand and knee back down and rest on the mat. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a pause here by bringing ourselves onto our tummies. So draw yourselves down onto your mats. Hands are going to stack one on top of the other. Okay, so your head is in a rested position. All right, so what I would like you to do is we're just going to do a small little breathing pause. I'd like you to bring your right knee and now draw your right knee up to the side of you and let the foot just come and rest in its natural, happy position on the mat. Visually, you might think of perhaps an army kind of crawling, army sort of the shuffle, the low shuffle they do. That's that sense of the knee coming towards the side. What we're trying to do here is look to see if we can get a bit of a stretch or a turn off of our piriformis, which is a problem for a lot of people. So it's a muscle deep within this pelvis, connecting the lower part of the sacroiliac joint out to your hip joint, okay? And it does get in the way of some of our nerves, okay, for a lot of people, the sciatic nerve. So this is a piece where I want you to just pause and breathe. Hence, I'm still talking. Okay, so this knee is pulled up towards the side. If you don't like the sensation or you'd like to modify where your upper body is, you're more than welcome to just lift your right hand and just almost just find yourself into a comfortable lying position where you might want to support yourself and the chest is off the mat. If you're happy where you are, I'd like you to take 2 more breaths. And every time you exhale, just try and relax around that bottom area a bit more. We're just trying to switch off the piriformis at the same time as making space. We're going to allow that leg now to extend back out to the end of the mat. We're going to switch sides, okay? So you kind of know what's coming. You're going to breathe in and exhale, sliding that left knee out towards the side of you. Just noticing now if it feels any different. Does it feel like it's a little bit more awkward to get into the position? Perhaps you can't draw that knee up quite so high. Perhaps you really need to shift that left hand into an elevated position so chest is off the floor to find any comfort. Okay, again, these are messages we're looking for from one side of the body to the other. Asymmetries, particular tightness. Perhaps you might find a tightness in one side, but in, oops, try again. That's Siri joining in. Perhaps you find a tightness on one side that might indicate that you have problems on one side. Oh gosh, one side versus the other. And then extend your leg out behind you. Well done. Okay, so from here, we're going to pop our hands by our shoulders, tuck your toes under, and lift yourself back up and bring yourself into a position right at the front of the mat, okay, because you're going to work now in plank. So hands at the front of the mat, probably about a hand span away from the front edge there. Go ahead and extend that right leg out towards the back of the mat, tuck your toes under. Now, I'm not going to hang out here too long. Take the left leg out as well, and you're going to find yourself into our traditional plank position. Hands directly under the shoulders. Bottom is just a little bit above the shoulder height, so you're not sunk down and dipped through the lower back. I'm going to get you to hang out here for a moment and just see how you feel. Shoulder blades are backing down, neck is long. Now we're going to just hold for 3 more seconds, and 2. Now I want you to think where your hips are now in space. They're not going to move, they're not going to lower at all as you let your right knee float down towards the mat. It just stays there while your left leg joins it, but nothing else happens in the belly. So you've not sunk that lower back. You're still pulling that belly to spine nice and strong. Okay, now here's the rub. We're going to lift our right hand, and you're going to now imagine that right elbow is going to lift up towards the sky and slide and slice in by the side of your rib cage. Okay, so you're just tucking that elbow in by your side. Place the hand back down. You'll feel a bit of a shift from the movement through the body, through the pelvis, and across the kneecap as your left elbow slices up towards the sky. Squeeze that arm in by your side. Hands come back down. Breathe in and switch. So you're just slicing that elbow towards the sky and back down. I want you to think about the focus being a bit on the triceps here. So you're drawing that, or the back of the shoulder and the triceps as you draw that elbow up towards the sky. And the next time, so again, you're still feeling that weight over the wrist, okay? Can be tempting to end up pushing the bottom back, so you end up a little bit here. Your hands are directly under your shoulders. Yeah, better. This next time the right elbow comes up, okay, so I'll pause and hang on out here, and the right hand comes up, pause with the elbow elevated. Body weight is over that left wrist, I know. I'm going to just ask you now to make a nice flat paddle with your hand, and your fingertips are glued together. Send your little finger now out to the back of the mat and extend your right arm so it's straight. Really stretch and extend that tricep. Come back in, thumb comes towards your shoulder, and then slice that hand away behind you. We've just got 2 more. Thumb comes to the shoulder, so you're swinging this arm like a pendulum, working the triceps as you extend, as you come forwards into contraction for the biceps, back into your tricep work, come forwards into bicep, place that hand back down. Very little movement control as you bring your left elbow up, slice it by your side, tucked right in by your rib cage, tummy in. Again, make a paddle with your hand, glue those fingers together, slice your little finger towards the sky, reach that arm. Okay, so this is coming from the elbow joint. There's no movement of the shoulder at all. It is simply the elbow joint extending and contracting, flexing and extension. Okay, thumb comes up towards the shoulder and away. Last one. Good. And then bring your hands back underneath you. Okay, wonderful. From here, we're going to pop down into triangles. Okay, so you now got your elbows down on hands together. And this is a slight little bit of reprieve. We're not going to go into child's pose, but at least you get a little moment off those arms a bit. Okay, so in triangles, elbows are wide. However, we are going to go back into plank. So take your right leg away and towards the end of the mat, tuck your toes under. Press through the heels slightly, okay? Make sure you feel that stretch in the back of the calf muscle. Left leg heads out as well. And again, try and think of that press through the heels. And I want you to think of that being almost to the point where you've what we call dorsiflexion. You've created a complete right angle at the ankle. Now I want you to push the crown of your head forwards, right onto the tippy toes. Okay, so you're almost in plantar flexion, as if you were pointing your toes, and then pull the heels back. Okay, so we sometimes call this a battering ram. So you can imagine your body like a plank is being bashed forwards and backwards. Okay, towards a castle gate or whatever, that sense of just keeping that lovely body still If you want to, of course, at any point, just drop those knees down and you can pause back into child's pose if you wish. We've just got 2 more, forwards and backwards, really forwards onto those tippy toes, pull back with the heels last time, pull forwards with the tippy toes and back with the heels. Everyone now, if you haven't already, float the knees back down and pop back into a gentle child's pose. Okay, try not to get too over exuberous with the depth of your child's pose. Okay, it's just a rest, to be honest, and a breath. Okay, so we're going to head into side lying, folks. So if you just want to bring yourselves over into the side position, you can have your head either end, I don't mind. We're going to just hop ourselves onto our supported elbow and hand on head position for this week. If that is uncomfortable for you, go ahead and pop your head down. If you have got that cushion handy, you're more than welcome to pop one under your ear. Okay, or indeed the hand can be out straight. It's totally up to you with your comfort of the shoulder. Legs to begin with are down the middle of the mat. So just once you've got yourself kind of in this lying position, check you can see your toenails really above that kind of thigh area. That means they're not too far backwards or forwards. Shoulder blades are back and down. And I want you just to remind yourself, we've been banging on quite a lot about this, but that sense of almost like a light airiness under the rib cage. Okay, so you're not just kind of sunk down and pressing into the ribs. You're trying to think of almost lifting it slightly. So you almost feel like you're resting a little bit more on this elbow and arm area. Okay, wonderful. Now from here, we're going to work on a double leg lift. So glue your legs together. Focus is on the lower inner thigh. As you double leg lift to the side, I want you to imagine that lower inner thigh is really kind of doing all the grunt muscle work here. So as you lift those legs to the side, it's kind of the lower thigh is lifting the upper leg. And the upper leg's kind of just coming on along for the ride, okay? Breathe in when you're down, exhale as you lift. And lower. And lifting. Okay, so again, you're trying to find that space in the rib cage, just in case we're dumping down into it in order to be able to lift. And again, that dumping down into the rib cage will mean you're not working this outside chain of the body enough, because you're just going, almost using it as a counter lever to get yourself into a rock, a rocking position movement. On the next lift, try and think about maintaining the height and pause here. Belly will be in. That's it. We're going to regroup. Belly is in and shoulder blades are back and down. And again, find the rib cage lift to the point where you're almost resting on that lower hip. Okay. Then from here, we're going to just take one leg forwards and we're going to go into our scissors, reaching one leg forwards and one leg backwards, and then switch. Breathe in, exhale, and switch. Now, you might not get so far with this. Okay. So it might not be a big movement. It might just be a small little front and back movement. That is your slightly easier option. Reduce the range of movement. We're just going to do 4 more. And 3. And 2. And 1. Bring both legs back together, lowering the legs back down. Bring your top leg and just go ahead and pop it in front of you. Now, you've got various options here. You can, if you feel able to, you can go ahead and almost hook around your ankle. If you fail to do that, you've completely collapsed all your body form and you feel like you're leaning forwards. I would like you to think about your leg being behind and the foot is down. Yes, so the back foot will be flat. If you can't really get there as well because your hips don't quite want to open, go ahead and pop the leg in front of you and it's out the way altogether. Okay, so you can choose. I'm going to go ahead and find this fishing around position for this week. The lower leg is nice and long, reaching towards the end of the mat, okay? And I want you to just pick that lower leg up and I want you to send it slightly behind you by about an inch, okay? So towards the back of the mat and lower it back down. This is where we want to be doing our raises, okay? I want you to now lift the leg there and down. Okay, so lifting and lowering. Always feeling a little bit of energy as it's towards, like it's glued, like a magnet perhaps. It's being glued and attracted to the back of the mat because it will want to meander forwards. And have a little word with the lower back. Think about, your back, your shoulder blades pulling down. The glutes should be slightly active. Okay, so it's the back I want you to think about as well being active. Breathe in when it's down, exhale when you lift. Still lengthening that leg like a little pulley pulling you towards the end of the mat. We're going to lift and lower for 4 and 3, last 2, and holding with this leg high. Hold this leg high, and now I want you to think of that magnet one more time. I want you to now imagine that you're going to press towards the back of your mat with a straight leg and a small pulse. So it's a small pulse back and back and back and back, working from the thigh bone, not just by flicking the knee joint or moving the ankle around. It's from the thigh bone. We're just sliding it backwards and forwards towards the back of the mat for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Gently now draw that leg back down and pause. Gorgeous, well done. All right, so you're going to switch to the other side. So gently bring your knees in, swing those legs around. Finding yourself down the middle of the mat, again, accommodating any shoulder issues if you want to with your arm position. Cushions handy if you wish. Check out the toenails. Okay, again, little indicator for us. And check out your hips too, okay? So we're trying to think about avoiding being rolling forwards and really supporting too much with this kickstand. The hand should be just a little bit closer to the belly perhaps. And shoulder blades back and down. Wonderful, well done. Okay, find a little house for the mouse, as Pilates called it. Okay, a little house for the mouse is this bit in the armpit. He was insinuating that we could make a little tiny cave for the mouse to move in. So find that little rib cage lift, as if you've got a very light sense of the ribs down on the mat there, and reach the legs nice and long for our double leg lift. Shoulder blades back and down, glutes are active. Again, it's that lower inner thigh that's doing all the heavy work here, lifting that top leg up and down. Exhaling as you lift. Now, guys, of course, if you're really struggling with this double leg lift, of course, you can just work on maybe not having so much range. You don't need to lift so high. Or perhaps if you're getting to the point where you're feeling uncomfortable, you can just go ahead and lift the one leg. So you can just lift the top leg up and down. Okay, shoulder blades are pulling back and down. Again, think of the posterior chain, the back of you, your shoulder blades pulling down, glutes nice and strong. And then we're going to hold this next time you've elevated, please. Checking that you've got that slight house of the mouse under the ribs. We're going to scissor now, switching one leg forwards and one leg back. Reach them nice and long and then switch. So you're trying to find like a really quiet calmness through the upper body. The tummy is in and controlled. The messages are firing between the front and back of the body as you adjust one leg forwards and one leg backwards. Lots of oh, hang on, I might have just lost you there. Ignore. Yes, you didn't put do not disturb on. Just lost you there, guys. That's 1001 scissors. I'm sure you're still going. There we are. Well done. And then release. You're still going. Release the legs back down and give them a moment's rest. Well done, guys. Put the legs back down. Okay, so we're going to move into our inner thigh work. So from here, choosing with your leg to bring your leg in front. If you can, go ahead and reach that inside of the ankle. Yeah, okay. Or behind. Or again, depending if you can't really get that heel down towards the back, it's not essential, but you know, if you're kind of hovering somewhere here, then just concede that you think that that leg should be into the front. All righty, so I'm going to choose your level, breathing in, lengthening that lower leg, reach it like a little pulley and lift and lower. Now we're just going to pause this next time you've lifted and just imagine that magnet pulling the leg slightly towards the back of the mat by about an inch. Okay, not a very big amount, and then lower and raise there. Okay, so now you've got that glute firing up a little bit more too. So you're drawing a little line up and down the wall at the end of the mat there. You're just imagining that little line, so you're not coming forwards at the top or back. So you're trying to think of it staying up and down like a little plumb line. Shoulder blades are still back and down, and if you can even think about a little tiny space under that rib cage or a light airiness to add on to everything else, then that's fab. Breathe in when you're down, exhaling as you're lifting, and down, breathing in, exhale, lift. And pausing this next time it's elevated. Just checking that you've still got the shoulder blades back and down. As we tire, we start to kind of collapse the front of the body, fire at the back, and then I want you to now press that leg a little bit further towards the back of the mat, okay? This is where we're going to work. We're now coming just slightly forwards and then press back, and forwards, press back. So the movement is really about an inch. The leg is elevated. You're not counteracting by pushing the leg backwards and pushing forwards with the upper body. The upper body is still and working from the thigh bone in the hip. Okay, I'll say that again. It's from the thigh bone in the hip. There's no bend at the knee. Last two, last one. And then gently ease that leg back down. Gorgeous, well done. Okay, we're going to head on to our tummies just for a small moment's reprieve. So back onto the tummy position with your hands stacked, forehead on the top hand. Shoulder blades, pull them back and down. You might actually have to then lift up the elbows and move them in order to be able to really pull those shoulders back and down. Bring the belly button in. Okay, and the neck is long, the forehead and everything stays down. I want you now to just simply breathe in. As you exhale, bring the belly to spine and elevate both feet off the mat and really reach them towards the end of the mat, nice and long. Everything should be feeling really long and lengthened in the spine. You're now going to imagine that you're giving yourself a big round of applause or a clap with these feet. You're going to clap them together with small little beats. So it's a clap, 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 beat, 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 tap, tap, tap. Lifting the whole time these legs are off the floor. We're just going to tap the legs together. Well done. Little fast call. We call this the beats, as if you're beating a drum. Beat, beat, beat. Legs are long still. Knees should be slightly off the mat if you can. For 4, for 3, for 2, 2, 2, and 1, 1, 1. And release everything back down. Gorgeous. Well done. Pop your hands by your shoulder, tuck your toes under. Lift yourself into 4-point kneeling one more time. Okay, so hands are underneath the shoulders. All righty. So guys, I want you to place one hand, perhaps for the first series, first set of pieces that you want to be able to see me. So what I would like you to do is just place one hand on top of the other. Okay, so your hands are currently under your shoulders. Lift one hand and place it on top of the other. Okay, so you've got them both towards the side or one side gathered. All right, now I want you now to take the elbow of the hand that you've just moved and pop it where your hand was. Okay, so the elbow is kind of in the hand space, the imprint that was left. Wonderful. Okay, now I've asked you to choose because you'll be able to see that you're now slightly twisted, or you'll know that you're slightly twisted. Make sure you can see me. So if you've twisted away from the camera, you might want to change around. All right, okay, so from here, we are now going to extend the leg on the hand that's on the mat side, so not the hand that's on top, the hand that's on the bottom. Extend that leg out towards the back of the mat, so toenails are down. Okay, elevate that leg now to hip height. And currently your hips are there or thereabouts facing down towards the mat. Okay, now the hip that's on the same side as your lifted leg, I want you to lift that hip up towards the ceiling and continue to look with your gaze even more to the side of you. So you've really started to think about opening out to the side. Okay, so you've opened out your hip, you've turned your leg perhaps to the side, you're even looking out towards me even more. Okay, this is our hip rotation. Come back with the hips now so that they face down towards the mat. Shoulder blades are back and down, belly is in. Breathe in, exhale, lift that hip and open to the side, getting a stretch and opening at the front of the pelvis. Look back down towards the mat with a breath in. Okay, see how we're getting on. Exhale, lift and open that pelvis towards the side. Okay, well done. That's it, lovely. And then back down with the hip, looking towards the mat, breathing in and exhale. Open and look towards that fireplace, Gemma. Really rotate those shoulders, lift that right shoulder up. Yeah, for you, Gemma, that's it. And then back down with the hips facing towards the mat, legs stay straight. Okay, right. From here, we are now going to just do the twist one more time and hold. So your leg is elevated. You're going to twist to the side and pause. Okay, so you're looking towards the side of you now, really lifting that hip nice and high. From here, reach that leg even longer out the hip socket. We're going to take it into single leg circles. So small circles here with that extended leg. Around we go, drawing circles on the wall behind you. Small circles, working the glutes, working the outside edge of your hip. Well done. Yeah, that's it. Gorgeous. That's it. Pull those shoulder blades back and down for me. That's nice. Shoulder space between the shoulder and the ears. Opposite direction when you're ready. Switching now. Opposite, reversing round. Good. Keep that neck long for me, Gemma. Try and think about looking. That's it. That's it to the side. Good. Nice. Well done. And with your final circle, pause. Turn your hips now back towards the floor, bring your knee underneath you and bring yourself back up into your 4-point kneeling. Just readjust so you feel like you're nice and settled, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Crossing over your opposite hand, okay? So opposite hand on top, and then elbow lowering down towards the mat. It's kind of in parallel now, this forearm to the front short edge of your mat should be. And we're going to now extend the leg towards the opposite leg now out towards the end of the mat, toenails are down. Lifting that leg to bottom height, this is your start position. So if your right hand is on the mat, your right hand should be lifted, okay? And your left hand will be just kind of hanging out on top as a support. All right, so our hips are now facing the floor, maybe your gaze perhaps as well. Now I want you to lift your hip and the extended leg up towards the ceiling, opening out the front of the pelvis and look away to the same side as that extended leg, okay? And then let the hips come back down, facing towards the mat, breathing in. Exhale as you lift and open the hip, pressing perhaps into the hand on the mat to just get a little bit more lift through the chest and the rib cage as well. Shoulder blades should be back and down. And you almost imagine that lovely imaginary swoop between the crown of the head and your toes there. Okay, on the upper side of the body, creating that lovely swoop boat shape. We've got 2 more. And on this last one, we're going to pause. Okay, so lift and elevate, open out that pelvis and pause there. Good. All righty, look into the side. Nice, lengthening that leg. If I was there, I could give it a gentle little pull there from the lovely hip socket and away into your circle. So circling around. Nice, working from that thigh bone. Imagine that toe right on the end there, drawing those circles, nourishing into that hip, and still that lovely open space between the top of the leg and the top of the head. Yeah, head nice and long. Really pull those shoulder blades back and down for me as well, so you're still managing to get that opening sense through the upper body and neck. Well done. Reverse directions here, and we're thinking about 6 rotations. Lovely. And 2 and 1. Gorgeous. Draw that knee back underneath you. Bring your gaze down, lifting your hand. And again, if you want to take a small child's pose here, just gently easing the bottom towards the heels. It might not be your thing if you're not comfortable in your child's pose, or you have any osteoporosis or issues with the lower back. Please just take this chance perhaps just to do a little small cat stretch instead of the intensity of child's pose. Okay, so just a gentle cat if you would rather. Keeping movement going, and then pause. Okay, so we're going to bring ourselves into prone position for some work on the back. Okay, so bringing yourself down, we're going to be in a Sphinx position. So you've got your elbows kind of under the shoulder, hands are down, and it's the forearms that will be on the mat. Okay, now currently, of course, therefore you'll be aware that your chest is off the mat at the moment. Okay, so you're probably a foot or so with the head off the mat. What I want to be really mindful of here are a couple of options with the lower back. If you're not used to going into back extension, you can have your legs wider, okay? That is slightly more tricky. Slightly more easy, so like a bit more comfortable. Or bringing your legs together, gluing those guys together will make it a little bit more tricky for you. So perhaps if you've done this work before, you can go ahead and try with the legs together, that's fine. Now, elbows currently are digging into the mat. Shoulder blades should be slightly back and down, just as we did when we were doing our beats work. So pull the shoulder blades down. And I want you to be aware of your hips. They are currently on the mat. If at any point when you ever go into back extension, you feel like you've come off with the hips and you're almost lifting to the point where you're on your thighs or your knees only, you have gone too far, okay? So I want you to always think, are my hips still on the mat? Okay. Elbows should be slightly digging into the mat, not so that they're uncomfortable, but so you've got a bit of purchase there, almost like you're pulling those elbows slightly in towards you, and your hands are just kind of coming along for the ride. I want you now to look down, so your nose is down and your forehead is in parallel to the floor, and just try and think of the stretch you're getting from the base of the spine. That is what I want you to just focus on for the next 3 breaths. Every time you exhale, think, am I trying to imagine myself digging a bit more with these elbows and pulling myself a little bit more with my shoulder blades back and down, and my forehead and crown is pulling forwards. What we are trying to do here is create space in the vertebrae with every exhale. So just simply breathing in, exhale, and pull forwards with the head and pull down with the elbows and the shoulder blades. One more time, breathing in. Exhale, find that space before we go into extension. Well done. Well, further extension. Now, if you're uncomfortable or not happy with any further extension, you may find you want to continue with this piece here. If you feel like you can go into a little bit more extension, you can go ahead and start to lift your gaze with the next exhale. So you're looking towards the front edge of the wall or the room in front of you, maybe even just the front edge of the mat, just a little bit more, and find some more stretch through that spine. Okay, so every time you exhale, look down, sorry, inhale, look down towards the mat, exhale, lift your gaze and pull forwards. On the next exhale, you can start to press into the hands more and lift your elbows slightly off the mat and come into an elevated position. Now, you might find that this is just too intense for you. You have not been familiar with doing extension, and that is too much. As you come back down, you let the elbows rest on the mat. You look down with a breath in. Exhale, lifting your gaze perhaps to the mat or the other side of the room. If you can lift the elbows, you're exhaling as you lift up slightly higher into back extension. Hips are down, down, down. Remember what we said at the first place. If the hips are starting to lift, please go back to the elbows, staying on the mat and just lifting the gaze. Or breathing in and just allowing yourself to pull forwards, decompressing the spine, making space, pulling away from the pelvis. So loads of options, loads of modifications, but we're trying to make sure that we've got everything going into extension to allow the lovely intervertebral discs to just keep pushing into their correct place and not against any nerves that run down that spinal column, okay? A lot of problems we have is working too much in flexion. So we're trying to just correct that with 2 more lifts, squishing those little vertebrae discs back into the correct place in between the vertebrae. But you have to find the space first. Pull forwards, find that decompression, then into extension at your level. Well done. And then ease yourself back down onto the mat. Wonderful. Okay. So from here, we're going to roll onto our backs, guys. So rolling over just onto your back. And heels are close up towards your bottoms. Okay, so that's a nice opportunity for us to just manipulate things back into the right position in the actual spinal column, in that lovely stack we have of the vertebrae. So now we're going to just capitalize on that by now finding some fluidity and some movement in the spine by working into our bridge. So heels are close towards your bottom, and try and think about, again, the shoulder blades slightly back and down, and think about this back of the arm here, the tricep being attached to the floor if you can. That's not easy for everybody, especially if you have some curvature of the spine or your plaques, weakness, certainly, by doing a lot of work in front of you. So don't worry if it doesn't happen, but that's our intention. Okay, so from here, we're going to go back to our lovely mobilization of the spine. So you've got a little marble on your pubic bone. You're going to lift the pubic bone and let that marble roll now so it lands in the belly button. But that's as far as you're going to get. Pause here for me. Pause with that belly button lift. There's the marble in the belly button. So behind you guys, you've got some elevated spine, some elevated vertebrae off the mat. Take time to think, how do I get the next vertebrae back down onto the mat without it all coming down in one chunk? You need to keep pulling that pubic bone towards you, like the little ropes, keeping it attached and lifted off the floor. And then you sink down the next vertebrae by the intention of your mind, pressing each one down individually in your mind's eye. And then you come to settle into what we call our neutral spine, where you have a little bit of a gap. Okay, I'm not going to get you to overarch. Okay, just rest in neutral. Then do that again. Roll the marble into the belly button. So you really pull that belly button right in. Then really think about pressing one vertebrae at a time as slowly as you can and back into neutral spine where you have a small arch off the mat. One more time, and we're going to pause with the marble in the belly button. Okay, so you're probably thinking, yeah, I can feel that's kind of around about my waistband-ish, that maybe thereabouts on the floor, maybe a bit below or above. I want now to peel above the waistband so you get to your lowest ribs. Again, Feel that lower rib cage, that lower little set of ribs at the back of you there is on the mat, and below that is elevated. You should still be pulling on that string with the pubic bone pulling towards you. And now go ahead and see if you can let one vertebrae come down at a time. Okay, no rush, and into neutral, where you've got that gentle natural S of the spine. And then go ahead. Roll the marble into the belly button. From the belly button waistband, peel onto the lower rib cage area. Pausing here. Press through into those vertebrae below the ribs, back down, via the little marble in the belly button and into neutral. Okay, so now we're going to head slightly higher to the shoulder blades. Off we go, lifting the tailbone, roll the marble to the belly button. Find that first, the middle section we did, sorry. Then start to lift a few more ribs so you're onto the base of your shoulder blades. Pause here for me. Just acknowledge where you are. You're on the base of the shoulder blades. The lower ribs are lifted. I want you to think about the belly button coming in, the glutes slightly squeezing, and maybe slightly pressing the kneecaps towards the end of the mat. So you're stretching. You might feel a slight shift and pull. It's almost away from your throat space direction. Okay. From here, again, stay in this position, nice and lengthened. Imagine the back of the ribs now. Below the shoulder blades are going to come down one at a time onto that lowest rib. Then we're meandering into the mid-thoracic spine. Then we're going to find that we're at that belly button point where we can try and get the lumbar spine, which awkwardly curves the wrong way for this, but is aided in the manipulation we're doing now. So it's all helpful, and you're into neutral. Again, rolling off the ball into the belly button. Lifting via the mid-spine, find the parking space, the lower ribs. From the lower ribs, come up onto the shoulder blades and pause. Belly in, glutes strong, and bend pull those kneecaps away from you. Pause here. Arms come towards the sky for me, lifting the arms towards the ceiling. Well done. I'd like you now to leave your left hand where it is, take your right arm behind you into a single arm float and back to the ceiling. Breathe in, left arm behind you. Keep pulling with those kneecaps towards the end of the mat. Keep squeezing the glutes. We're going to just switch from arm to arm, single arm float, but keeping everything super still. Space in the spine, glutes strong. Well done. Last single. And back up towards the ceiling. And rest the hands now, both of them behind your head. So double arm float now towards the back of the mat, and interlace your fingers. Turn the palms away from the crown of your head. Okay. And this is going to help us get a little bit more into that shoulder blade area. Press the shoulder blades down now as if I was treading on the front of your chest. Okay. Press the shoulder blades down into the mat. Lift the pubic bone still towards you. That string still nicely pulling the pubic bone towards your nose. Now head down through those ribs. Find that middle section of your spine, over that waistband section where you feel the belly button is now down on the mat, and then release into neutral. Hands come back over and rest on the mat. Okay, so that should have nicely mobilized the spine. I'd like you now to take your right leg and place it, your right foot and place it on your left knee. Okay, so it's kind of the right ankle that's resting at the top of the knee area there on the thigh. Again, we'll need to step into these arms. So find a slight shoulder roll back if you can, and a press down of the whole of the arm, including the wrist and the hand. We're now going to go into hinge movement. You're going to let your mind's eye press into your left foot, and you're simply going to let your bottom cheeks lift off the floor and into your bridge, where you found your gorgeous, lovely supported shoulder blade position a moment ago. Stretching through that left kneecap towards the end of the mat. Now, we're not going to release vertebrae by vertebrae. You're really pressing into these hands, and I want you to allow your bottom to head down towards the mat. So just spare the kisses towards the mat and then press back up. So this is a figure of 4 you've created with your leg. And you're working on the left leg only now, so a bit more weight into that left glute. If you're struggling with this right leg elevated, please go ahead and pop your foot back down, and you can do your glute lifts with both feet firmly planted on the mat. Okay, it's not a problem. We're just trying to think about not working segmentally now. This is your glutes, your buttock cheeks are working. You're trying to stop any cramping by really thinking of breathing in when you're down, exhaling and involving the pelvic floors as you exhale and lift. You're really stepping into these arms, and the neck should be fairly long and relaxed. If you're feeling huge tension at the neck, perhaps just give it a little bit of a lift up and a put back down again, just to release any tension there, please. We've got 4 more. And 3, exhale as you lift. Last 2 as you exhale, floors are in. Last 1. And then come back down and pause. Releasing the right leg, place the left leg now onto your right knee. Again, just checking that you've got a step into that right sole of the foot. You've got your palms down, your forearms down, shoulder blades back, breathing in. Exhale as you lift now your bottom off the floor and into that bridge. Don't forget the little pull of the kneecap away from the direction of your throat space, and then lower from there. Breath in, exhale. Okay, again, that little pull on the kneecap allows us space in the spine. Okay, it allows that range of movement to be better and more effective than perhaps if you were clumping down into the spine. Okay. So you're really thinking of squeezing the glutes as you lift. Again, checking if there's any compression through that neck. You're feeling relaxed through the neck, and it's a strong arm standing into the floor. And once again, if you feel this side is not comfortable, please place both feet down, and you can be doing a second set, no problem, with both legs on the floor. And lifting as you exhale. And lift. And lower. Last 2, make these good ones. Stretch that knee nice and long away towards the end of the mat. Last 1, and then coming back down, rest the bottom on the mat. Taking the left leg away. Okay, and then I would like you now to just allow your spine to be nice and neutral. Perhaps give it a bit of a wiggle and a jiggle. Bring your left knee into your chest, and bring your right knee into your chest. Okay, hug those knees in for a moment. Now, you may feel that you enjoy a bit more extension through the back of the spine, in which case you're more than welcome to lift your nose towards your knee and really hug those knees in. Now, that's not for everybody, and perhaps that's too deep for some people, in which case please go ahead and just hang out here for a moment, knees into chest. No problem. Totally up to you. All righty, releasing the legs back to the floor. Just go ahead for me and pop your hands out towards the side of the mat. So they're probably a bit further than the mat on your floorboards or carpet there. Bring both knees together. And we're just going to do a simple hip twist, okay? So you're looking towards the sky for the moment. Knees are glued, ankles are glued. And we're going to take the knees over towards the right. Allow the knees to head towards your maximum range. Okay, and I'd like you to really think at the moment that your left shoulder blade is still kind of staying down, okay? If you come to the point where your left shoulder blade is lifted, you've probably gone too far with your legs, okay? Your shoulders are still down on the mat. If you would like to look over towards the left side, you can, add in the neck rotation as well. And again, just 3 breaths here, please. And as you breathe in, imagine the space that you're finding, the space not only through the muscles, but through the abdominal intervertebral discs. And the first thing to come out of this, I'd like you to do is bring your gaze towards the ceiling. Then you coordinate with the breath in, exhale, and pull in the tummy muscles, pelvic floors to just support the knees as you come back to center. Regroup in case you kind of meandered and shifted out of alignment. And then exhale as you then send your knees towards the left. Again, the shoulder blades have a word, keeping those guys down if you can. And try and relax. Take 3 breaths here, please. Looking over towards the opposite shoulder, I should say, sorry, if you want to join in with the neck rotation, you're more than welcome. So you're looking in the opposite direction of those knees. And lifting your gaze now towards the sky. Then take a breath in. Engage the tummy and the pelvic floors to support the knees as they come back through to center. Well done. Bringing your hands back in. We're going to bring now ourselves over into 4-point kneeling. So just shifting yourself, knees under hips, hands under shoulders. Okay, just step forward your hands just about 1 foot or one handspans width forwards. Tuck your toes under. They're about hip width apart. We're going to elevate into a V stretch or down dog. So just lifting now your knees off the floor. Press the heels slightly towards the back of you. I'm not asking you to push them towards the mat, but just to the point where you've got that sense of stretching the back of the leg through the calf muscles, back of the knee joints, and up into the hamstrings. To get deeper into the hamstrings, you might want to turn and sort of push your tailbone away from you. In other words, try and imagine your pubic bone trying to get away from your nose, and equally having your head drop a little bit deeper in between those shoulders and elbows and shoulder blades back just allows us to get the full stretch out of this lovely position here. Okay, when you're ready, I'd like you to soften your knees. Okay, so just soften the knees, and I want you to walk your hands back towards your toes, an inch at a time, a small little meander, an inch at a time, and slowly you'll pivot yourself so that your heels come to rest on the mat, and your knees should be soft and bent as your hands come up towards your toes. Placing your hands just on the top of your feet. Okay, alrighty. I want to put the heels of your hands onto your toes and give your toes a wiggle. Okay, just wiggling those toes, just have a little bit of a massage on the toes, but also onto the inside of your hands. Okay, then I want you now to walk your hands up your legs. Again, inching these hands up your legs, noticing as they travel up the shins to the knee joint. The knee joint is soft. They hide over the knee joint. Tuck your chin into your throat space. Belly in, pelvic floors are in. Walk the hands up your thighs. Gently, inch by inch, as you straighten your legs. And then slowly restart the spine, and hands come by your sides and to the center of the mat. Bring yourself into standing in parallel. Just go ahead, double arm, float your hands towards the ceiling. Breathing in as you do. Exhale as you turn your hands away and press the air down by your sides, and pause here. Just allow a little bit more weight into the heels for me. Okay, so a bit light over the toes. Breathe in, lifting your hands to the sky. Now, a little bit more intention as you press the hands through the air, lift the crown of the head nice and tall towards the ceiling. Hands rest by your sides, heels now bedded in the mat. Close your eyes for 2 breaths. Breathe in, grow tall. Expand through the rib cage, and as you exhale, just zip and hollow. Find that lovely tummy activation in the pelvic floor area. One more time, breathing in. As you exhale, find your core, feel safe and rested under the heels of the body, of the feet. Open your eyes, and we are done.